Today, we'll be diving into some explosive news coming out of the White House. Also, take a look at 2026. It is going to be an awesome one. I just want to jump right into it today. And of course, I'm going to bring in my friend, my fellow compatriot, Mr. Tim Warren, coming in from, you know him, Tim Warren Trades. How's it going, Tim?
It's going, Paul. What another crazy day for crypto here.
It's getting out of control, man. If you guys have not visited Mr. Tim Warren's channel, I want you to jump over there right now, hit that little subscribe button, and watch a handful of these videos because he does a really good job at breaking down things and getting it into very digestible snippets that you guys can understand. So check out Tim Warren. It is an awesome one for sure. Tim, let's go over to a point or two that I want to hit on. There's several scenarios that are playing out underneath us. One, we have some analysts that are pointing to 2026 being one of the best years out there. Then you have a lot of, stalwarts that have been really in this industry for some time calling for a different analysis on this. Just before we get started and we kind of hit on Trump's recent tweets, which is pretty crazy. What is your thought? Are you bullish or bearish for 26?
Yeah, it depends on who you ask. People like to say where I am all the time. And, I'm bearish right now in the immediate, short term, next couple of hours, next couple of days, potentially. I think there's some concerns there. I'm closer to bullish than you think there. In 2026, I'm still bullish. I'll remain bullish. Obviously, 2025 was supposed to be bullish for a handful of reasons. I was bullish all of 2025, got that one wrong. So there's that element I think everyone has to have where it's like, hey, we're in a different game right now. Things have changed. We've never seen crypto move the way it's moved this year. But I still believe there's a lot of catalysts that once we kind of sort out all of the manipulation, once the whales and the new institutions coming in have their fill of cheap levels, I still think a lot of signs are pointing towards a very explosive 2026.
So 26 being explosive, obviously with what that is going to take, it's going to take some major moves from the Fed. Here it is right here. President Trump says, anybody who disagrees with me will never be the Fed chair. And then right underneath that, it says, President Trump says inflation will take care of itself. And if it doesn't, key words right there, guys, we can always raise rates. So what do you make of that? Do you feel like, is that any kind of indicator that we could actually see some rates being raised?
I learned a long time ago, you temper your expectations when Donald Trump speaks. You can never take his highs as high as he makes them sound, and you can never take his lows as low as he says. At the end of the day, isn't this what the Fed's been saying? They can always, it's almost like the opposite. Jerome Powell's almost like, hey, if inflation gets better, we can always cut rates. And so it's like, yeah, you told us what we already know. Inflation goes up, we want to raise rates. Inflation goes down, we want to cut rates. I think it depends on where people want to see. I don't know a lot of people. I'm sure there's somebody out here in the community who says, no, I like high interest rates. I like it hard to borrow money. I think 99% of us would like to see them come down. And to be fair, he's right. We could always just raise rates back up.
It's I think the key here is what would that look like to the market if we continue to see stock market? I mean, we're closing in on 6,900. We could have 7,000 maybe, which was Tom Lee's target before the end of the year. We have a tweet out there that is a poll on what basket of altcoins would you choose as safe choices. What would it be? I'm showing Ethereum, Solana, ADA, SUI, AVAX, Link, and Uni. So this is the list. We've got ETH, ADA, SUI, AVAX, Sol, AVAX, Uni, Link, XRP, Link, Litecoin, ADA, and XRP or AVAX, XRP. I think he means Pengu here, and Link. Which one?
All right. Well, let's start by making very clear, as much as I am bullish, as much as I'm bullish, safe and crypto should not be used together, right? That's the whole point of it, making so
the same sentence. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. What I would go with here, I think people are going to know Link's got to be in that. I think Link is potentially, Ethereum and Link kind of go hand in hand with the safest plays. What keeps me away from bag number one, and I know a lot of people are going to be upset at me for saying this, and I want to preface this by saying I still hold a Cardano bag. Paul, I don't know about you. I'm losing some confidence in Cardano. And I don't want to open up that whole can of worms here on today's show. That probably is a show in and of itself. Yeah. So I'm hesitant to say number one. I really like Solana, but in the second batch, I have no Ethereum. Like, I wish there was a batch that had Link, Solana, and Ethereum all in it. That would probably be my go-to. But let's just go here. I'm going to go with option 2, Solana, AVAX, Uni, and Link. I wish Uni was Ethereum instead, but that's where I would go with it.
All right, so your vote came in as the least selected bag.
I like that.
You love that.
I love that.
Number 1 is XRP Link Litecoin ADA, holding at 46% right now, about 160 votes in. So hopefully you guys can go back to the X account and catch out when there's more votes in there to see if they hold up. But that's interesting statements that you got there. Hey, a couple of things that have happened is we've had the Q3 GDP absolute blown out of the water. I mean, it's up 1%, up 4.3. We thought it was going to be 3.3. A lot of people pointing at this saying, well, the economy's resilient, but we aren't seeing price action on this. Does this stuff matter anymore?
You know, I think I saw it posted on several accounts, so I'm not going to try to take credit for this. You almost have two different economies right now. You have the AI economy that is booming, but that's what's causing a lot of people to say potentially it's AI in a bubble, which I'm not necessarily certain it is, but it's a fair argument that AI is propping up GDP. It's propping up the S&P 500. It's propping up the economy. And if it is in a bubble, that could spell a lot of doom for the economy if the AI were to go pop and fall the downside. No, I don't think it's going to happen. I don't want to spread any fear there, but that's the reality of what's happening right now. That's the reason people are scratching their heads, because they're like, food's expensive, electricity's expensive, housing's expensive. People, our unemployment is rising. Why is the GDP so strong? Look at the AI sector. That's carrying the load right now. But I'm still hopeful in 2026 the others can catch up.
Yeah. Okay. So sector holding, but in general, you look at what this growth is going to look like for next year. I've got a clip here from Tom Lee I want to play for you, and then get your opinion on this. Take a look.
I think it's still possible to have a double-digit year. There have been 12 times in the last 100 years where markets posted 3 years of 20% gains. This year hasn't finished yet. Globally, half the time markets do even better in the following year. So I think next year is a year where the debate's going to be, is the bull cycle over or is it going to extend? I think it's going to create quite a lot of volatility in the first half, but I think GDP growth stronger. We have a dovish Fed. Valuations are reasonable, so I think we end up exiting very strong.
Why a lot of volatility in the first half then?
Part of it is the Trump tariffs could get overturned. There is a possibility of an extended government shutdown. The nomination and then confirmation of a new Fed chair is going to take 3 months. That could be very controversial. I think all of that happens in the first half of next year.
All right, so there you have it, Tom Lee. Early volatility playing into this. That could be good for crypto in general if you're looking at entry points. What would be your Bitcoin target right now? If you look at the charts, where would you target Bitcoin in early next year and say, this is a buy right here?
Oh, well, I mean, I think you're possibly looking at prices right now, anywhere between right now and down towards 74.5. I would call a buy right now. Again, even that volatility he's talking about, I think there's a level in which, if you're in a sector like AI stocks, or if you're looking at gold or silver, well, you've just had a massive run up. So when you hear the word volatile and you've been very bullish, that's probably not the words you want to hear. Volatile probably means a swing in the opposite direction. Doesn't mean a bear market. Doesn't mean 80% crashes. It just means, hey, you've had a nice big rally. We're about to get volatile. You're coming back down. Crypto space has been falling. So the word volatile in crypto actually sounds kind of nice right now. It sounds like something that could swing us back to the upside. And so when I look at my chart here, and I'll share it, you guys look at it, I continue to maintain some shorter term support and resistance that I think is very key. Number one right here, $85,000 area. This actually is a very significant level for this Friday, the options expiry that happens. It has I think a pull wall here at 85,000. If people don't know what that means, that's fine. It means strong support. The strong resistance actually is up at 100,000, but the max pain, which is very interesting, is sitting at $96,000. So right now, between 85 and 96K is the short term, I think, support and resistance level. Whether you're in a bear market mood or not, I think that I think you should not rule out a bigger move to the upside. I still think what we're watching after losing the 50-week moving average, that's this yellow line right here, I think a movement back up towards it, that and maybe look at the 200-day SMA, for example, which, by the way, 200-day SMA sitting currently at 107 and dropping, the 50-week moving average sitting at 101 and dropping. I still think you could see early in 2026, because I'd be surprised if this happens in the next week and a day. So 8 days left this year. I still think we could see an early run at least back up to 100,000 to meet that 50-week moving average, get closer to that 200-day moving average. After that, though, the question becomes, do we put in a higher low and start making a move towards all-time high, or do we run into resistance and make a lower move, maybe back towards April lows? I think 74K is going to be a very key level of support. If that is lost, I think that's the key word, if. I think the next spot you're watching is a pretty severe one, all the way down to the 200-week moving average, which is climbing. It's currently at 57,000. I think by the time we'd make it there, you're probably looking at 60 to 65,000 as the realistic floor for that level. I'm not convinced we're going there. I think there's a chance. I'd give this, Paul. I give about a 30 to 40% chance the bottom is in. I think 74, you're starting to put in more like that's maybe when I'm putting 50. I think there's still a chance of 60K. I don't think it's strong. Right, so I think there's a chance of it. Good.
Let me ask you this right here, because you're dealing with people who it's end of year, so there's some tax loss harvesting coming in on projects and mostly altcoins that you just got roasted on this year if you purchased this year. But if you are one of the Bitcoiners and one of the Ethereum holders and one of the XRP holders who purchased last year in 24 or 23, you are up. What about the issue of people saying, listen, it's so close to the end of the year, I didn't get my last year-end run, I'm going to roll these capital gains into next year, and January is when I'm going to start taking profits? Are you at all worried about those kinds of strategies that could be playing into it right now in terms of profit taking that could hit, because some of this could be pretty big Bitcoin holders saying, I'm done?
It's possible. And I'd have to see some numbers presented to me of what kind of people would want to make that type of a move. I think right now, when you're looking at the amount of frustration, clearly long-term holders are frustrated, right? I'm a long-term holder. I'm frustrated, but yet I'm bullish. I think the people that are so frustrated, they're considering selling. There's going to be way more of those that are more in a position that want to sell in loss than in gain. Going to get that tax loss harvesting done early. I understand what your logic is saying there, saying there could be some people that roll into 2026. They take their capital gains early in preparation. I'm going to continue, though, to preach that this whole move, when I go back to my chart, I don't get everything right. I get things wrong all the time, but I get a good amount right. And even though I didn't take advantage of it, I should have. I prepared our community. I said, do not be surprised. In October of 2025, there is the perceived notion of a 4-year cycle top that will come in. I think there will be a sell-off. Now, did I think we'd get this low? No, I think we went lower than even I anticipated, which is why I didn't sell my crypto. But I told my community, I said, do not be surprised if, as we have still not had regulatory clarity, as the institutions have still not really jumped in, although they're flirting with it every single week, don't be surprised to see a move to the downside that convinces retail, that's it, 4-year cycle's intact, we're going to keep going lower, and we're going to have our normal 70 to 80% correction. All the while, we'll find a location somewhere, maybe it's right in here, that the institution set up camp to accumulate as much as possible. And it's right when you're convinced we're about to go lower that they'll decide, nope, it's actually time to go to the upside. So anything's possible, Paul. I don't have a crystal ball. You don't have a crystal ball. I've told you before, if you find one, please let me know. I would love to get my hands on it. But I still think there's a lot of strong arguments for this manipulated move down is a calculated move by institutions like JP Morgan and others. Also, historically, quantitative easing is a very good thing for risk on assets. Crypto is a risk on asset. We are cutting rates. And even though we haven't declared it, we are pretty much utilizing quantitative easing by the Fed now injecting liquidity. It's only a matter of time into 2026 before official QE is announced. I just don't see that spelling out a bearish year for Bitcoin.
What do you think? Okay, so obviously the Fed chair selection, but what even Tom Lee said there in that clip was that this could elongate into middle of the year. You look at the poly market right now. Right now, it still has it on the high side. I'll zoom in on that for you guys. So you can kind of see it right there. Has it on the high side, gaining ground again, which is interesting, holding it at about 62%. And it appears that he would be the one that Trump would say, hey, this is the guy for us, because he's going to be in that position. Are you at all worried about the Fed independence becoming a thing that investors would actually look at in a negative way going with Fed rate cuts?
I don't think so, Paul, because I think that if anything, there's going to be a lot of very good friends with the people who now control the Fed. Of course, that being the Trump family and the Trump administration. They're going to see the opportunity. They're going to see the opportunity for some pretty big moves to the upside, right? We're going to get more rate cuts. We're going to see things happening. Paul, I don't want the Fed to be independent or dependent. I would love for the Fed just to go ahead and be obliterated. I would love for the Fed to no longer exist. I think there's going to be some fear mongering along the way, but I don't know. At least at this time, Paul, I don't think I have any worry at all about maybe too heavy control from the U.S. government on the Fed. But maybe I'll change my mind as things kind of develop.
All right. Well, we got to look at whether people like tariffs or not. This, of course, is Scott Bessent. This is a clip of him talking about it. Take a look.
Scott, it seems like the tariffs have had an enormously positive impact. Why do you think so many people got it wrong? What did they get wrong? What did they miss that you were able to see?
Well, a couple of things. People didn't have an open mind. They became the Trump tariffs. Because President Trump wanted to do it, it must be bad. I said the other day, President Trump cured cancer, but it caused dandruff. Then people would say, well, President Trump has caused a dandruff epidemic.
What is your opinion on tariffs? Do you feel like this is really hitting the bottom line of inflation or not?
It's anyone who tries to say that tariffs have no impact on inflation, they are lying to you or they're very ill-informed. They absolutely have impact on inflation. When it comes to is a good thing or not, that actually depends on what happens down the road. I've said several times, and I've gotten in trouble for this, but I'll say it again on your channel. Maybe I won't get as much. I'll probably actually get more trouble on your channel, but that's what it is. If we get to a place where we start to eliminate or at least seriously suppress income tax, then I think tariffs are a good thing. Going back to what we had pre-World War I, where there was no income tax and the government made its money based off tariffs, I think that's a great idea to go back to. Some economists disagree, but I think that's okay. A world in which we have both tariffs and income tax is terrible. And even listening to these guys, listening to wealthy individuals saying that this is a good thing, wealthy people have not been hit hard by tariffs, and maybe a lot of them have actually benefited from them. It's disingenuous, though, to smaller people, to small business owners, to the person who has jobs at key companies who depend upon imports. Those are the people being hit. So to say, oh, people are trying to spin this as a bad thing. No, at the moment, if you're being hit by income tax and tariffs, your paycheck is being hit, your inflation is being hit, your job is being hit. It has been a negative thing to this point. What still remains at question is if it can be a good thing long term. That's what I'm holding out on.
I think this is going to play out negatively for the current administration on affordability. If something doesn't really spin around, this is going to be a problem next year. This is the issue right here. This is the Trump administration starting to seize defaulted student loan monies, and they're going to do it through your pay. So basically, they're talking about garnishing your wages. If you own or owe money to the U.S. government in reference to student loan, these are the kind of things that, to me, just scream the issue that we're dealing with right now, which is where we are currently from the economy side, where most of the voters are living, which I think are a lot of crypto voters right now. And now the administration pulls this. I just don't know. This just feels wrong.
It's not
to be doing this.
Yeah, it's
now.
not good, Paul, because on one hand, I'm a big believer of you should pay your debts, right? People should pay 100%. Their debts.
100%.
But the minute the government starts putting his hand in my bank account on my paycheck, what's the line between us and China? What's the line between us and a very dangerous world down the road? I really hope that this headline was more of a feeler outer and doesn't come to fruition. It's a scary world if that ends up becoming a thing.
Get some pushback. I think he's going to get some pushback on this. Anthony Pompliano comes out and he's talking about Bitcoin and the potential for it. I wanted to play this clip for you, get your opinion.
Let's look at Bitcoin prices this morning. Oh my God, there might not be another interest rate cut. Better sell some Bitcoin.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think that there are a lot of Bitcoin investors that are disappointed that Bitcoin did not go to 150, 200, 250. I mean, take your crazy number that people were predicting. At the same time, we have to remember Bitcoin is up 100% in 2 years. It's up almost 300% in 3 years. It has been compounding. The compound annual growth rate of Bitcoin over the last decade is 70%. This thing has been a monster in financial markets, but it has volatility. And so one of the aspects of Bitcoin that people aren't talking about is that the volatility of Bitcoin has actually been coming down. And so we didn't get a blow off top that I think people expected in kind of the end of Q3 or beginning of Q4, but we also haven't seen the big 80% drawdown that people normally expect as well.
Could you see it go down a lot more? You said a little bit more. What's the next? There's nothing on the horizon, really. Is Washington still matter? Do you need that legislation? We don't have it yet, right?
Again, if we go back to this idea of artificial intelligence and Bitcoin or crypto are kind of the two big areas where the future of finance is, what I believe is going to happen here is I think that AI and AI agents are going to be offense. But then what's going to happen is that these companies are going to take that capital and they're going to go and they're going to stick it into crypto on their balance sheet. You can think of Bitcoin and crypto as the defense and actually protecting that purchasing power. Now, what I find very interesting is that that defense, some of it's going to be Bitcoin, some of it's going to be stable coins, some of it may even be tokenized gold.
All right, so you heard that. For him to mention tokenized gold is crazy because now you're dealing with the situation I think that a lot of Bitcoiners face with people who are investing in Bitcoin right now, because it's like, what is it? A ridiculous amount of people are down right now overall on their Bitcoin holdings, and it's only the OGs that are in a position. Do you think we're going to get some pushback from the markets in general from this?
You know, there's some things that he said that I think are a little funny. First of all, he said, "Oh, it's." I agree with him. It's less volatile, but it's like, "Oh, we're not down 80%." It's like, well, it's not. It's not the right time frame to be down 80% just yet. In theory, we could still do that. But I want to continue to go back to some things I've said several times on this channel and other channels as well. This is a game. This is a game to what we call the composite man. This entity, this large institutional entity that works as one person to manipulate markets and to get these things. I'm not surprised by this pullback. I'm not surprised by their tactics. This is a tale as old as time. Unless, and maybe people are here, unless you believe that Bitcoin is dead, if you think blockchain technology is dead and it is going to zero, sure, sell off, run for the hills. Otherwise, if you think it's valuable, why wouldn't the elites who want to control everything they can control, why wouldn't they have some form of manipulation at play? And it's when you start to hear the biggest cries of concern and fear that you're probably starting to get towards a bottom overall. When it goes to interest rates, that's the other thing I think is really interesting. When he said in the beginning of the clip, Paul, he said, "Oh, looks like we're not going to get another interest rate cut in January, so should we start selling off Bitcoin?" Bitcoin's been selling off during several interest rates cuts at this time. People think it's so simple that it's like, oh, interest rate cuts means bullishness for Bitcoin. No, it has not. We've been cutting the last couple of meetings. We've also been dropping the last couple of meetings. It turns out it's a little more complicated than that. Recently, good news has been bad news has been bad, neutral news has been bad. It's almost like the news is not what's influencing Bitcoin price right now. Something else is. You can have that your own answer for yourself. My answer is I still believe that Bitcoin has an extremely bright future. I think it's going to be I think in the next 10 to 15 years, people will be measuring their wealth in terms of how much Bitcoin Satoshis they own, not in terms of US dollars. But because of a world like that, and because we're still early to the game of cryptocurrency, manipulators are manipulating, and they can do so at very extreme levels.
Yeah, no doubt. Let's talk about Ethereum for a second. This chart alone starts to get me worried about where Ethereum could go from here. What say you, Tim? Do you like it? You don't like it?
The chart there doesn't necessarily tell a whole lot of details what's going on. It's some lines drawn there. I don't necessarily think that that's what I'm watching and worried about. I'm not convinced we're going to see this support level. I have a support level down here that I've actually had for quite some time, here at about 2,600 to maybe as low as 2,400. You're going to see it's kind of right there in the middle of the big swing between April and then the highs here of August. That to me is strong support. I didn't say this earlier, Paul, but I should have when we were talking about Bitcoin, but it's the same thing when it comes to Ethereum. This is one of the reasons why I'm buying right now. Again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't promise you the bottom's in, but one of the reasons I'm buying right now on the weekly chart is this indicator right here that is giving us a signal very similar to the previous lows. This looks very similar to April of 25. Yep. It looks similar to September of 24. It looks similar to September of 23. It's on Bitcoin. It's on Ethereum. It's on the total chart. It's across crypto in general. Whether you think the bull market is done or not, this buy signal, where let's go to Bitcoin, for example, see it, this reversal indicator, green momentum, and then the money flow is starting to pile back up. Bitcoin, Ethereum, altcoins, take your pick. It is historically aligned with major bottoms coming in and new moves to the upside flowing afterwards. In fact, even people might say, Tim, but we're in a bear market. Okay, maybe we don't get a new all-time high. Maybe we're in a bear market. Go back, though, to that relief rally of 2022. Look at what came in here. Reversal, green momentum dot, positive money flow. Bitcoin would rally 45%. It wouldn't put in a new all-time high. It would have just hit on that 200-day SMA, but it was a rally that people can long. If you had bought in January of 22, you could have sold at some decent profit in March. Same thing happening right now. That's why I'm saying in a bullish case, the bottom's in and we're going to see new all-time highs next. In a bearish case, the short term's bottom in and we're going to have a nice relief bounce according to this historically great buy signal.
Okay. So Tim, let's get into, before we cut loose here, the basket. You didn't like the basket we had. So the basket for you, the Tim basket of things to hold as a defense mechanism into 2026, what would those be? Asset-wise?
Yeah, depending on the number you're going to have. I could probably go as high as 8 to 10 coins, but let me stick with maybe the top couple I would say for sure would be in my basket. Number one, I'm going to go with Ethereum. I think Ethereum is one of the few altcoins seeing a lot of positive fundamentals, along with that Solana, right? So both those layer one solutions I would go with in my bag. You guys know how I feel about Chainlink. I think Chainlink is going to win no matter what cryptos win. If crypto does well in the future, Chainlink will do well. So I'm going to start with those top three. Once you start to expand out of those top three, there's a lot of conversations that could be had. For example, I could say XRP. And there's fundamental reasons to say XRP, but you know one of my biggest reasons to say XRP is because I think that TradFi is going to be one of the biggest injectors of liquidity into this market. And every time I come into contact with a friend of mine who trades TradFi, not crypto, the first crypto they ask me about is not Ethereum or Solana. They've never heard of Chainlink. They asked me about XRP. So I think XRP could easily make its way into that bag as well. And then, of course, you have some other options. I still think SUI has potential. I think that Ondo, as bad as the chart looks, I think fundamentally Ondo is up there as well. And then I have Arrow, Tau, AVAX, and a handful of others. But if I was to focus on those top 3 to 4, Ethereum, Solana, Chainlink, XRP would be in that top group.
Very nice. Very nice. Listen, I won't talk to you before Christmas. So Merry Christmas, Tim, you and your family.
Merry Christmas.
And again, thanks so much for coming in on the show today. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Paul.
You bet. All right. You guys know what to do. Make sure and join our own private member group. You can do that by just clicking the link down below. It's absolutely free. And we drop additional research. I do a couple of emails there each week. It all comes to you. And of course, you can follow me out there on X at Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on The Paul Barron Show.